The $1 Million Movie won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about Outland.
Oh, I love this type of sci-fi movie.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. The hard sci-fi.
The blue collar working. Everything's kind of dirty and dingy. It's been there for a while.
Yeah, you know, I was really worried about this film because I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
So, like 80 years ago, when I was a child.
That was 80 years ago.
But I loved it. I had so much fun watching it.
Yeah, I had never seen it. I was a little surprised I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Because it's very similar to Alien, that kind of vibe.
Yes.
And
you'll tell us why.
So good, yeah. But it's so good. It's just done so well.
It is a very good take on High Noon.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the funny thing is that when I heard that this was based on High Noon, I was like, oh, High Noon's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch it. I get it. And I understand because Peter Hyams himself said, I want to do Western.
Yeah.
And he borrowed heavily from it. But they're very different movies.
Well, sure.
I mean, even just the setup of, High Noon's kind of in real time. And when it finally gets to the part where people are coming to kill him, they just kind of buzz through the 80 hours or whatever it is. It's like, oh, here it comes. And it's just click, 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 click. And it's, there's not real tension to that. Not that Outland needed that.
Right.
Because there was a lot more going on in the story. But,
well, that to me was really interesting. The fact that he did have to wait so long. It's kind of like with Three Body Problem, that whole,
right.
hurry up and wait.
Waiting 400 years for them to come and kill us.
You know what's going to happen, but it's not happening yet.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. Well, in that case, not in your lifetime. But this is like, what do? You just sit around for 3 days waiting for them to show up. And especially when nobody will help you.
Exactly. Bunch of cowards.
Cowards.
What struck me watching this was how similar in feel and look and tone it is to Alien.
Yeah. I mean, it did help that it had the same producer,
sure,
and
same
and
music.
a lot of the same composer, a lot of the same production design people. I mean, but it's still not an Alien movie.
No, but it totally fits in the universe.
I saw a great post where someone talked about how before they did Alien rewatches, they would always watch this first.
Oh,
because it was kind of like, since it's in near Jupiter and it's closer, and then Alien, and for the most part, set in deep space or further away, it was almost like this was a way station before, and it's just kind of what happens here while all the other stuff is happening in Alien far away.
Yeah, but the technology, the computers, the spacesuits, even to the uniforms with the hats and stuff, it all looks like it comes from the same universe. It really does.
The fact that there's no such thing as point and click, and just scrolling through computers by typing. They
keep talking about xenomorphs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, they didn't. But I was pleasantly surprised. This is a really fun, if you do like Alien, if you do like hard sci-fi movies, it's a really cool little mystery. I mean, there's not a lot of mystery to it. But
it's like a good crime thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just, this is my favorite kind of sci-fi movie, is the kind where it doesn't really matter if it's sci-fi.
Right.
To me, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's elements, obviously, in this movie that they definitely use, like the depressurization and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I love the fact that it's, because sci-fi can be anything.
Yes.
And it's just a setting. And this movie is just such a perfect example of that.
And I love stuff where, I love stuff like Alien 3, where it's a bunch of criminals or a bunch of...
Right.
Nobody's life is going great if they're on the IO mining operation, especially those who aren't miners.
The poor, what they called the hookers, the poor ladies is like, man, how bad is your life that you're going to travel in cryogenic space or freeze for a year to go and then just sleep with a bunch of dirty miners?
Gross. Yeah.
So
there's a lot to think about on that trip.
Low point in your life.
You get to see space.
I guess.
I don't know. It just seems very bleak. It really portrays what I think that kind of life would be like. I don't think that people, it doesn't matter if it's now or in the future, whatever. Corporations are jerks.
Oh, yeah. They're just going to get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that it was Peter Boyle, everybody, works together. And if they mine more, they're happy, and then the corporation makes money and they're happy, and it's like, yeah, in a perfect world, that's not how it works.
Well,
man.
if it didn't kill you, then maybe it would all work okay.
Yeah.
But you're killing, people are dying.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
considerable amounts.
Yeah, actually, it was a lot.
Yes.
But I totally understand why Sean Connery's wife was just like, "Nope, I'm out."
What do you mean?
After 2 weeks, like,
this is paradise.
Not for me. Although they implied that they had been at other places.
Oh yeah, well they talk about that at the beginning. She said this is a new post, and also because he's a marshal, he goes from post to post to post, and his kid has never been on Earth, so he was born in
and
space.
His kid was like 10 or something. I mean, he looked like he was at least 10. But,
so I think because what they explain is because of his attitude.
Yeah,
and the fact that he always asks questions.
Yeah.
And is not really a team player. He keeps going from place to place to place.
He does his job.
Right.
Yeah. But what I love about that is that it just implied that there were other moons of other planets in the solar system that had stations and stuff.
Sure.
And like that to me is fascinating. I always love little hints of a bigger world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's not the only place they're mining. There's probably...
Oh, I'm sure Mars and the moon and...
Yeah. Asteroids apparently have lots of...
The asteroid belt.
Precious metals.
The Kuiper belt.
Yeah. So, anyway, let's get going.
All right, take yourself back to 1981.
Yeah.
March 19th, 2 workers are killed and 4 are injured during a ground test of Space Shuttle Columbia at Kennedy Space Center in the U.S. They entered the shuttle not knowing that it had been purged of oxygen with nitrogen for fire safety measures. Nitrogen is odorless and colorless, so none of them knew what was happening until they started passing out. The 2 who died might have lived, but NASA security stopped the ambulance that was called for, and they searched it for 7 minutes. It was the first deaths in the space program since 1967.
Wait, they stopped the ambulance so they could search
They
it?
weren't aware that this was going on, and when the ambulance showed up, the security guards searched it to make sure there was no, contraband and
Nice.
people, all because of the Cold War and people coming in and trying to steal secrets and things.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Nice communication. And also, I want to thank you again for adding another tragedy to my birthday. Just throw it on the pile.
Yeah. It was I went into a weird rabbit hole with this thing. I had no idea this happened.
Neither did I.
It was fascinating how...
They kept it from me because it happened on my birthday.
That's true. April 12th, Space Shuttle Columbia, that exact same space shuttle, with NASA astronauts John Young and Robert Crippen, launches on the STS-1 mission, returning to Earth on April 14th. It is the first time a crewed, reusable spacecraft has returned from orbit.
That was such an amazing thing. I mean...
Oh, yeah, the big space plane. Yeah.
People don't really give an S about space or NASA or anything anymore.
It's too bad.
But back in the day, man, because I'm a space baby,
Yeah,
I mean, I was born during the moon landing.
Right.
Not literally, but...
Literally on the moon.
I was a few months old when the first one happened. But one of my very first memories was watching one of the moon landings, probably the 72 or 71 one.
Yeah.
But, and we were just riveted by anything that was going on in space. And we were so supportive of NASA.
Right.
And, I think...
it just became, regular old hat, whatever.
I think the Space Shuttle Challenger...
Yeah, but even up to that point, like between 81 and 85 or 86, when it happened, 86, people still were kind of like, oh, it's just because they flew so many missions.
Right, but we were still fascinated by the Hubble telescope. We were still fascinated by space. We weren't so cavalier and we didn't have to give all of our space stuff to billionaires back then. We did it ourselves, and I think that's the problem now is now we have my soapbox. Now we have a bunch of billionaires making space tourism for the very rich. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, they are getting stuff to space stations.
I mean, they are doing a lot of launches to get stuff up to...
But it ain't altruism, and they're not...
Oh, no, they're definitely making money off of it. That is very true.
It just sucks because, man, everybody my age at one point in their life wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
At some point. And I dare anyone to say otherwise. But probably, a lot of people couldn't. But for me, astronaut, doctor, priest, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was part of the whole thing. And it just breaks my heart because I am still so fascinated with space.
Right.
You read these crazy articles about these sounds and these shapes and all this stuff going on, and people are just like, whatever.
I know. Well,
what's Taylor Swift doing?
Reading an article about how the science...
Nothing against Taylor Swift, by the way. She's amazing.
The science that Einstein used to find black holes, essentially there's 2 other things that they don't know what they are, but the math proves that they exist.
Right.
And it's like, what?
Exactly.
Like, why aren't we figuring that out?
Right. And also the sounds and the signals coming from deep space.
Yeah.
And that, I was going to say Onimusha, but it's
it's
Omarosa.
Omarosa. She's just flying around in space.
Yeah, but it just breaks my heart.
Onamanawana or something like that.
Yeah, but it's just and they still haven't figured that out.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's so many great mysteries, and
space is real big.
the thing that I found really fascinating, that kind of brought it home to me, it was just so weird, was William Shatner.
Oh, yeah?
Because William Shatner, everybody knows he was Captain James T. Kirk.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I went to space. But he went to space.
He
went up into space as a 90-year-old guy. And his quote about it was fascinating because he said, I'm not going to do the voice because I want to, get the quote. But he basically, and I'm paraphrasing, he basically said, I played this captain. I played this iconic spaceman, who went to space all the time, and I had never been to space. And then when he finally went to space, he said it was the most profoundly sad moment of his life. And then he realized that space is so dark and nothing, and why go into this nothingness? He had such a bigger appreciation for Earth,
right?
And and he's like, we got to take care of the planet. Right. And it was very fascinating to me that his reaction was so profoundly Earth-centric and and from him too. I mean, no offense to William Shatner. Everybody thinks he's the smartest man in the world, but but he's just a dumb actor. He wrote those tech novels, but it was just fascinating to me. I'm joking about him being
no, he's fine. But I mean, but that's interesting though, because I'm sure he's not the only one that feels that when they go to space. I mean,
it's the emptiness and the loneliness.
I think that people really don't understand just how big space is and like how empty, considering that there are more galaxies in this planet than there are grains of sand more galaxies in the universe than there are grains of sand on the planet.
Right.
Still, they're billions of light years apart.
Yeah.
Like they're just forever apart.
It ain't Star Wars where you just go zipping from planet to planet.
This is Outland. I was like, how long? Like, how crap? Because it's like, you do 1 year. 1 year is your tour or whatever. And it's like, well, how long does it take to get there? And I was like, well, it must be at least like 6 months. And then they're like, yeah, you're in cryosleep for a year. And it's like, you're giving up 3 years of your life to be there for a year. Like that's only to go to a moon of Jupiter.
Do they pay you for the travel time?
I would hope so.
I don't know. They seem pretty chintzy.
Actually, probably, yeah.
That corporation.
I mean, I would assume they would have done it. It's like, you got to be there for 3 years. But I'm sure if they did that, then people would go crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, you're also stuck in a place, like the wife said, you're stuck in a place that could kill you at any moment.
Yeah, yeah.
The air just smells oil and
that's the other thing is that literally space wants you to die.
Yes.
Like it doesn't one tiny little mistake and you're dead.
Yeah.
The end.
Yes. I love space. I would love to go to space. I would love to, but I wouldn't really want necessarily go to space the way it is now.
I want Star Trek space.
Yeah, exactly.
I want Star Wars space. I don't want to have to be in a suit just in case the oxygen goes out, and then I wait for half an hour for my oxygen to go out. Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Anywho, but I just thought it was fascinating his reaction, Captain James T. Kirk.
Yeah.
About going to space, which made him feel so desperately lonely. I thought that was very poetic, very poignant.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Anyway,
he's an interesting guy.
Very interesting.
May 15th, a prison officer, 31-year-old Donna Payant, disappears at Greenhaven Correctional Facility in New York. She's later found to have been murdered by convicted serial killer Lemuel Smith. It is the first time a female prison officer has been killed while on duty in the United States.
Go, ladies!
Yeah, that was also my mom's birthday, so sorry.
There you go. Hey, now your mom knows what I feel like. We're kindred spirits.
I literally did not connect any of those together when I wrote this.
Nice. Well.
Sorry. May 22nd, Outland is released in theaters.
Yeah.
So Outland starts with writer-director Peter Hyams. We have covered Peter Hyams before in our Running Scared episode.
Yeah.
Give that a listen. If you want to run scared in space. Oh, God, I had just gotten that out of my head.
I can't even remember how it goes.
Good, that's good. So Hyams had last written and directed in 1979, before Outland, with Hanover Street, starring Harrison Ford, Leslie Ann Down, and Christopher Plummer.
Man.
Was it a bad movie?
It is when you're 8.
Okay, well.
Because I loved Harrison Ford, right? And Star
yeah.
Wars and stuff. So I watched everything that he did, from
right,
him playing
of
a bellboy in 1965 and something.
Right.
To Hanover Street, it's just...
It's a World War II movie.
Well, it's boring. I mean, as a kid, you want to watch Harrison Ford kick some ass, and it's just him limping around, falling in love with Leslie Ann Down.
Oh. Well, apparently a bunch of people agreed with you because it did not do terribly well at the box office.
It was not a very good movie. It's probably my least favorite Harrison Ford movie.
Really? I was kind of curious to see it because I love Harrison Ford.
Hey, well, maybe it's changed now that I'm older and more mature.
Right.
Well, older.
Yeah, well, yes, definitely that. Hyams had been hired to rewrite and direct the movie The Hunter, starring Steve McQueen, an action thriller.
Yeah, baby.
Hyams did one rewrite draft and was promptly fired from the movie for undisclosed reasons.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Ironically, he would still get writing credit for the film, even though he only did one draft. It would also be Steve McQueen's last movie, who died a couple of months after the movie was released in 1980.
Yeah, that was so sad.
I think McQueen wanted to direct the movie,
yeah.
and I think that's why he fired him. But then, essentially, I think the DGA was like, no, you can't, because of Hyams being hired first or something. I don't know. Or he was hired before Hyams, and they were like, it sounds like you're just trying to get rid of him to direct, and so they wouldn't let him do it. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Anyway,
That's
I've never seen
him.
The Hunter. Yes, that is what killed him.
Killed by disappointment.
Disappointment.
Yes. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But
man.
McQueen dying was sad. Yes. Very
Super sad.
Yeah. So after all that, Hyams said,
I wanted to do a Western. Everybody said, you can't do a Western. Westerns are dead. Nobody will do a Western. I remember thinking it was weird that this genre that had endured for so long was just gone. But then I woke up and came to the conclusion, obviously after other people, that it was actually alive and well, but in outer space. I wanted to make a film about the frontier. Not the wonder of it or the glamour of it. I wanted to do something about Dodge City and how hard it was. I wrote it, and by great fortune, Sean Connery wanted to do it. And how many chances do you get to work with Sean effing Connery?
yeah. That was it. That was literally... It's so funny because...
3.
You
get 3 chances.
3 chances. If not, you get a smack.
You got a schmack.
It's just funny that Peter Hyams, the way that he went about doing stuff, and it's not like he had a great career, but it's not like his movies ever made a ton of money. Like, they did okay.
Yeah, he's very competent.
He's very good and delivers product that's good. But it was the same with Running Scared. He was like, I just want to do something about cops, and then he did Running Scared.
Well, at least he does stuff that's kind of different. You know? I mean,
he definitely changes his genres quite a bit.
Yeah, and he was right, because Star Wars was basically a space western.
Exactly.
Everything was going into space, and he was absolutely correct. Sci-fi took over westerns and became that. They absorbed that genre.
That action genre. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Action. Yeah. Yeah.
They had gunslingers like Han Solo and the
right.
Battlestar Galactica guys. I mean, it was just very much the same story, but told in space.
Right. The film's working title was Io after the setting of the film. This was later changed because many people read it as the number 10 or low.
That's why they put at the beginning, they're like,
literally,
the moon of Io, and then parentheses, EYEOH.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it.
It was a little sad. I was a little sad they had to add that in, but
people are dumb.
People are dumb, unfortunately. The film was developed at Universal by Hyams and producer Richard Roth. Universal actually turned it down, but Roth, who had a development deal at 20th Century Fox under Alan Ladd Jr., took the project to Ladd's new company, the Ladd Company.
Man, that opening with the little tree.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, like, stuck in my brain about that movie.
That's so funny. I do the same thing with like certain production cards or whatever. Like there's certain that I'm just like immediately it's like, oh.
That one and the Orion one.
Yes.
2 companies that aren't around anymore.
No.
But those 2 openings are burned into my brain.
Yeah. This is interesting because Alan Ladd had produced Alien, a very similar film in production design. In fact, about 9 of the production design staff of Alien worked on Outland, leading people to think that Alien and Outland are actually set in the same universe.
I'm going to say yes.
Why not?
There you go.
There's nothing to say it's not.
Exactly.
And there's nothing that happens in Outland that would make anything untrue in Alien, so I mean, whatever.
Not at all. So I am definitively saying that they both take place in the same universe. Case closed.
Nice.
Problem solved.
Nice. So Sean Connery was cast as Marshal William T. O'Neill.
Marshal William O'Neill in a routine expedition to the greatest earthquake ever known.
Did you say to the greatest earthquake ever
Yeah,
known?
in the land of the lost. Marshall, Will, and Holly.
Oh.
Remember Land of the Lost?
Was that the Land of the Lost theme song?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Fuck, I do not know Land of the Lost at all.
You remember Shaka?
It was all before my time.
Oh, you're sad.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad that it was before your time.
Shoot you into space, and then we'll see who's sad.
I had a friend over the other night, and I just bombarded him with different cartoon openings from the 70s and 80s and like all the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Brought back a lot of memories.
So after finishing The Great Train Robbery, Connery appeared in Meteor, released in 1979.
That's Meteor.
Which we actually covered, so please listen to our Meteor episode.
Since it's probably the only thing that's ever covered Meteor in the last 40 years.
Please give it a listen.
It's a good one.
It is. It's actually a really good episode. Also in 1979, Connery appeared in Cuba, directed by Richard Lester, who directed some Beatles movies. And after Cuba, Superman 2 and 3... it was about the impending Cuban Revolution in 1959.
I played a Cuban.
He may have.
Yes.
I didn't look that deep into it. I just thought it was fascinating that Richard Lester directed Superman 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. Well, he came in halfway through 2.
Well, right, because...
Took over for Donner.
For Donner, yeah.
And then we saw the Donner cut, and we're like, what the F? Why did he take over?
Yeah, I know. Donner cut was so much better.
Still a great movie, though.
Oh, yeah. I love the Superman franchise. Even the really bad ones, I still really love them.
Even the ones with...
The Superman
Richard
4, The
Pryor.
Quest for Peace.
Hey, Sue!
Well, 3
Hey,
was
Sue!
this Richard Pryor, but 4 was the awful...
Oh, my God.
sun god guy who has his power from the sun. It was not good. And he becomes evil in that one. Isn't that, or is that the third one?
I don't know. When he starts flicking peanuts at the...
Yeah,
that was my favorite part. Flicking peanuts and breaking all
Yeah.
this stuff. I love Mean Superman. He was the best.
In 1981, Connery appeared in the film Time Bandits as Agamemnon. The casting choice derives from a joke Michael Palin included in the script, which describes the characters removing his mask and being...
Sean Connery, or someone of equal but cheaper stature.
That was actually in the script.
That's hilarious.
And when he was shown the script, Connery was happy to play the supporting role. He thought it was funny, so he was like, okay.
Time Bandits is amazing. I
Yeah.
love that movie so much. I can't wait for us to cover it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember I saw it in college for the first time,
Yeah.
and I loved it.
But Connery was great because Agamemnon was almost like the father figure for the
Yeah,
kid, and there was a whole thing between them, and it's just such a very complicated and interesting movie. You can't go wrong with Terry Gilliam in the 70s and 80s, baby.
Oh, my God, he was so good.
And
so good.
oh, God, I'm going to probably watch that today, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. Connery was actually given special permission to miss a morning's filming on Outland in order to film Time Bandits on the housing estate in nearby Slough.
All right, Sean, we'll give you the day off for Time Bandits.
Well, this is funny because the producers were actually not contractually obligated to let him do this. They decided to give in to Connery's request as a gesture of goodwill, and they were able to film around his absence using a stunt double.
Were you going to say no to Sean Connery? No, Sean, you're going to have to stay here on Outland. Well, you can go F yourselves. I'm going.
Apparently, it only took a morning to film. He came back after lunch, and they resumed to normal filming.
He's a pro.
I just love the fact that he shot his entire part in one morning for Time Bandits while shooting a whole other movie.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Connery doesn't have the greatest track record with science fiction films. Connery had only been in one sci-fi movie previously before Outland. Zardoz, directed by John Boorman.
Zardoz.
Super weird movie with Connery in a mankini. It's not really mankini, it's a singlet.
Like a singlet.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's not really a singlet. It looks like a singlet because of the bandoliers.
Yes.
The way that it's put together.
Really more just a diaper.
It's a diaper with some bandoliers and a ponytail. It's gorgeous.
We did cover Zardoz, so please listen to our Zardoz episode. It is such a weird movie.
Yes, please
I
do.
love it so much.
Why are you ejaculating guns from your mouth, statue?
His next sci-fi movie would be Highlander in 1986, which is also a super weird movie.
But also Time Bandits is a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's kind of sci-fi.
But he's not really in it that
fine.
much.
He's not.
It's a cameo.
So we did also cover Highlander, so give our episode of Highlander a listen.
Yeah, Adam's favorite movie.
God.
For filming on
In fact,
foodie.
I have decided that it's not just my least favorite movie, it's also my least favorite franchise of all time.
What?
Yeah. All of it. Every single second of anything Highlander related is crap.
All right, that's what I say about Fast and Furious.
You're not wrong.
The first one was fine.
He would appear in Highlander 2: The Quickening in 1991, despite his character dying in the first movie.
I lost my head, but guess what? I found it.
Further proof that the Highlander franchise is stupid.
Heck, the thing is, I had some things put on my
Some bolts. He had some
not bolts, but I had them
stitches?
kind of a barreling inside of my neck, so if my head came off, I could just screw it back on.
Oh, okay, I see. You had threads.
Yes, threads. Thank
That's
you.
what
Adam.
you're trying to say.
I don't know what in Scotland they call them sloops.
Oh, do they?
Sloopy doops.
All right.
I'll give you a smack if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, that's fine. His last sci-fi movie would be The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003, which was such a bad experience for him, he literally quit acting.
That's so sad.
He was not quiet about how much he hated being in that movie.
Well, nobody was quiet about how much they hated watching that movie.
Yes, the movie was terrible.
Such a God,
it makes me sad.
Oh, me too, because the comics are great
So good.
and it's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
And they had a good cast.
And it was crap on a stick.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there was so much crap coming out. That was a time of monumental craps pooping out of Hollywood.
It was another one of those phases in Hollywood where they were just throwing money at everything.
Hey guys. Yep.
That was
We call those the glory years. Anytime we make money and make people upset, we win. Win.
So I guess you're doing something right then.
Yep.
Because
Exactly. Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Yep. Gotta go pick up my kids
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
from jail.
Connery actually lost a major extended cameo role in Chariots of Fire because Outland went over schedule.
God damn you! I wanted to be one of the runners. You're too old, Sean. You can't be one of the runners.
I love Sean Connery in this movie. There is a great sequence when his wife is telling him like that she's like, I can't tell you in person because I'd wimp out. And she's essentially telling him that she's leaving.
There's a recording. He comes home.
It's like an email message or something.
His wife and his kid are gone. He turns on the message thing, and then she comes on.
It's 90% of it is reaction shots from Sean Connery.
Silent.
Doesn't say a word, but his reactions, you see him go through the entire gamut of emotions.
Watch me go through the 5 stages of grief.
Oh my God, it's so good. He's so
good.
good.
It really does prove just how amazing he was.
He's such a good actor.
He's a movie star. He's ultimately watchable, but it's movies like this, The Untouchables, and
like the Indiana Jones movie.
Crusader
so
Crusade
good in that.
just proves his impeccable timing. He's a comedic genius. He's firing on all cylinders, man.
He is.
He's just didn't get the. Unfortunately, like a lot of really great actors who start their career in an iconic role, it's so hard to shake that
right
role and be something else. Hence Zardoz and all these crazy different movies that he did to try to be something different than James Bond.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and he did a very good job of that.
He did, but unfortunately, I don't think people. It's a blessing and a curse to be everybody's favorite James Bond.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, because that's all they want you to do forever.
Exactly.
And he's like, no, I'm an actor. Like, I'm not just the character.
James Bond wouldn't do that.
Yeah. It's just,
Not
again,
James Bond, you ass.
It's amazing to me that by the end of this month, we will have covered 7 Sean Connery movies, none of them James Bond.
None of them very successful.
well,
it's The Untouchables.
The Untouchables was, yeah.
Not all good movies.
Although they've all made money, I will say that.
Sure.
Not barn burners by any means, but they've all made money.
Well, that's what they used to say. Hey, Sean Connery, not a barn burner, but he'll make you a little money.
So Peter Boyle was cast as Mark Shepard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, Peter Boyle. He started as a theater actor, acting as Murray the cop in the touring company of The Odd Couple.
Nice.
He would actually leave the tour in Chicago and join the Second City Comedy Troupe. They literally came in, he did a show, and he was like, all right, I'm done. And then he stayed in Chicago while the tour kept going.
You get sick of it, man. The thing I hated about theater more than anything was it just got boring. Like doing the same show and the same part, no matter how much you try to mix it up or fool around or
it gets old. Yeah.
It just I got so after maybe I like 2 performances. I like the opening and the closing.
Yeah.
And everything in between was a slog.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Take that, acting.
Boyle acted in a few movies before gaining his first leading role as Joe in the movie Joe, released in 1970.
Yeah, about Bazooka Joe. Before he became Bazooka Joe. It's the origin story.
It's the origin story.
He was just Joe.
The film's release was surrounded by controversy over its violence and language. I've never seen this movie.
I don't think I have
either.
But
apparently he plays like a psychopath.
Nice.
And it's just ultra violent.
Yeah, and you watch it because it's the last time he ever did it.
That is true. During this time, Boyle became close friends with actress Jane Fonda, and he participated with her in many protests against the Vietnam War.
Me commies.
After seeing people cheer at his role in Joe, Boyle refused the lead role in The French Connection, as well as other film and television roles that he believed glamorized violence.
Well, look, French Connection, I don't think glamorized violence at all. I think he misunderstood that.
I agree.
I think it was a frank depiction of violence.
It was violence when it was necessary.
But it also didn't. It wasn't like, oh, these cops are great for using violence.
Right.
It didn't glorify it.
I agree.
I think it showed it as for what it was.
For a very real. Yeah, I agree.
But I get what he's saying.
But
I mean, I would be horrified. It'd be like, you're playing a serial killer, and they're like, yeah, kill everybody.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
Blow his head away.
Yeah.
Blow his head off.
Yeah. Boyle's possibly most well known for his role as Frankenstein's monster in the 1974 Mel Brooks comedy Young Frankenstein. In which, in an homage to King Kong, the monster is placed on stage in top hat and tails, grunt singing and dancing to Puttin' on the Ritz. Such a good movie. That whole sequence is so phenomenal.
That is an absolute perfect comedy.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing I would change. Mel Brooks is a genius, man.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Young Mel Brooks, there's nothing like him, man.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. In 1980, Boyle played Hunter S. Thompson's attorney in Where the Buffalo Roam, with Bill Murray playing Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, man. Not a good movie, but a really interesting
movie, yeah.
It was kind of the first... Oh, and to hear the stories. So I'm just going to... Real quick speed bump. So apparently, when Bill Murray was making this movie, he was still on Saturday Night Live, I believe.
Yeah.
And everybody was just like... It is interminable. He just was Hunter S. Thompson.
Right.
During Hunter S. Thompson. And it was just like, God, stop it. Stop it. You're not him. Just stop it. Be yourself. Just stop it. We hate you. We hate it. And it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I did. It's funny because it's on. I almost watched it after watching High Noon because it's on Amazon Prime. And I've never seen it. But I figured maybe we'd cover it at some point.
Yeah, it's not bad. The Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a much better portrayal of Hunter S. Thompson.
Yes.
And it really captures him and his life so perfectly. It is such an amazing film. But this is flawed but interesting.
Okay.
Much like all of Bill Murray's non-comedic
Yes.
The Razor's Edge.
I was just going to say, most of the time.
Early non-comedic.
Early. His later stuff is really better.
Well, I mean, when he was working with Sophia Coppola and stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah. In 1996, Boyle would be cast as Ray Romano's father in Everybody Loves Raymond from Phil Rosenthal. This is why I included it, because Jim does the best Ray Romano impression ever.
It's Eeyore.
He would appear in all 210 episodes of the 9th season of the show's run. Boyle would earn 11 Emmy nominations during his career, including 8 nominations for Everybody Loves Raymond.
I did not watch this show. I watched a few episodes.
I haven't either.
Not that I didn't like it. Not that I didn't like any of them. It's just those type of family shows didn't really speak to me. But I will say that Boyle and I forget her name, but the woman that played his wife.
The mother.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name.
So great.
They're so great together.
So great.
So
and,
funny.
And the guy that played his brother. I mean, it had a really good cast. Patricia Heaton as his wife. They're
yeah.
all really good. But it's just, it never...
I didn't really watch it either because I was in the same boat. I was like, this looks like it's a funny, weird guy and his family and whatever. But I will say, I love Somebody Feed Phil, which is Phil Rosenthal who created the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm more interested now to watch it again.
Sure.
I still haven't.
Yeah.
but I'm more curious.
I've really enjoyed Ray Romano's post Everybody Loves Raymond career.
Yeah.
He was amazing on He was amazing on Parenthood. He had a really great arc on that. He did a couple other series. He just played more interesting and complicated
some movies
characters.
He would pop up in as supporting characters, and it was always fascinating. Yeah,
so he's a very talented guy.
Yeah, he is. He's actually a funny dude. I like Ray Romano.
Thanks.
Peter Boyle would only win one Emmy, although being nominated 11 times for a guest star in an episode of the X-Files in the mid-90s.
Yeah, the guy could do anything.
Fantastic.
Such a weird-looking dude.
Especially in Outland, he's just because of that weird pot belly.
I love interesting-looking character actors that also are leading men.
Yeah.
And he was just a guy that... There's certain guys, him, Steve Buscemi, maybe even Seth Rogen, I don't know, guys that their talent outweighs their looks. And I know that sounds horrible.
No, but they're not
typical leading men.
Yeah,
they're not Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
they're not Christopher Reeves. They're not chiseled, six-packioed.
Got the big chin and the, not what you would consider to be a typical, Hollywood star.
Regular dudes.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. Those are my favorite people.
Okay.
On December 12th, 2006, Boyle unfortunately died at the age of 71 at New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City after suffering from multiple myeloma and heart disease.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah, it is. 71. He's also a big dude. So, tall. He was a tall guy.
Yeah.
At the time of his death, he had completed his roles in the films All Roads Lead Home and The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause.
Thank God.
The latter being released 1 month before his death and was scheduled to appear in The Golden Boys. I will say, Santa Claus 3, he was also in Santa Claus 2, I think. He was by far the funniest because he played the Tooth Fairy. He was the funniest thing in those movies.
Yeah.
No, he didn't play Tooth Fairy. He played Father Time, sorry.
Oh, okay.
But he was the funniest thing in those movies.
Well, of course. That's not a hard trick.
Yeah. Oh, Santa Claus.
Conversely, Tim Allen...
Yeah.
I don't find very funny.
Yeah, he's funnier when he's on coke. Yeah. Although that Home Improvement was a show I watched all of.
Yeah, we all did.
There
was much watched. We only had 3 channels.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
The end credits of All Roads Lead Home included dedication to Boyle's memory. Ray Romano was personally affected by the loss, saying,
"He gave me great advice. He always made me laugh. And the way he connected with everyone around him amazed me."
Yeah. He was a good dude. Apparently he was a very, very well-liked man.
Yeah, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but there's no reason not to be a great person if you're a successful actor.
Yeah.
You have the easiest job in the world. You're treated like royalty. If you can't enjoy that, then you might as well just kill yourself because you're just a grump.
Yeah.
So it's like, it bothers me that it amazes me when people are nice people. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the sad thing.
Well, but that's not, there's just a prevailing thought that, people in Hollywood are like, oh, they had to get where they're going by being mean and stepping on people. And it's like, that's not really true.
For guys in the 70s.
I mean.
60s. It was easier back then. And it was different back then.
Yeah.
And, I think... Back then, people wanted to be artists and actors.
Yeah.
And now they more want to be movie stars.
Frances Sternhagen was cast as Dr. Marion Lazarus.
Oh, I love her so much.
She's so phenomenal. This movie made me realize how much I love Sternhagen. Like, how much she is just so phenomenal.
Well, because this is like one of the only times she didn't play some New England matriarch,
She was so fast talking. The first thing, every time she was with Connery, it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, she's that awesome, cantankerous doctor character that we all love. The one she's basically Bones McCoy. Or
take 2 pills and call me in the morning. That's a doctor joke.
Yeah, exactly. She's a lot like the doctor in Alien 3.
Yeah.
A flawed... There's a reason why she's there, and that she's like the best doctors don't end up...
That was, I love... He's like, so what is this? And she's like, I don't know, man. Do you think that the good doctors come here?
Yeah, she's like, it was so honest and awesome. And the way their relationship developed was very organic.
It was so good.
One of the best parts of the movies. And she's always one of the best parts of everything. Whether it's Misery or Cheers or this.
I just love this. Them sitting in the. I think it was during the time when he knew they were coming.
Yeah, the handball court.
The handball court. Yeah. They're sitting in the handball cart. They talk for a bit, and she's like, "Do you want to get drunk?" Yeah. You just get up and go get drunk.
But the saddest thing is we didn't get to see that scene.
No, I know.
But we didn't really need to. But
I wanted to see more movies of Sternhagen and Connery together.
Yeah,
I think they played off each other so well.
Well, because she is so goddamn good.
Yeah,
and whether she elevates every actor she's with. Her and Richard Farnsworth in Misery was just pure joy watching those two together. They were the greatest couple. He's another guy that I absolutely so good. But yeah, every time she was in everything, she's just a pro.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to do anything to draw attention to herself. She's brutally watchable.
Yes.
So likable even when she's not. And you can't help but root for her. She's just such a good... I miss her so much.
Agreed. She had a 6-decade career as a character actor on and off Broadway in movies and TV shows. She was nominated for 7 Tony Awards, winning twice.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
She started on TV in 1956 with Westinghouse Studio One, back when TV was essentially just shooting live stage plays.
Yeah.
Sternhagen made her feature film debut in Up the Down Staircase in 1967, playing a school librarian.
Oh.
She would win a Saturn Award for her role in Outland.
Well deserved.
Yeah. In 1986, she would join the cast of Cheers as Cliff Clavin's mother, Esther.
Cliff.
Which, the funny thing is, I had no idea her name was Esther.
Neither did I.
It was just Cliff's mom.
Yeah.
Despite being in only 7 episodes, she was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for the part.
And she wasn't that much older than him either.
No, she wasn't. Yeah. I mean, maybe like 15 years, but it's not old enough for... They were trying to make it look like she was like 70.
Well, they always olded her up.
Yeah.
Except for this.
Yeah. Which is also the surprising thing. She was 50 when she filmed this. And she did not look it. She looked much younger.
It's funny. Now that I'm older, I was like, I kind of got a little thing for her.
She's an attractive lady.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the personality, and I mean, she's fit. It's just like everything about her is awesome.
She would make appearances in Bright Lights, Big City in 1988, starring Michael J. Fox.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh, man, I remember. Because that book, you ever read that book?
I'd never read the book.
There was a time, this wasn't... Bret Easton Ellis.
No.
But it was the same kind of like genre of these either young people in school or young professionals and the drugs and the sex and the this and the that and the cocaine.
Tell-all kind of.
Yeah, like these realistic portrayals of sex and drugs and blah, blah, bloop. And nobody wanted to see Michael J. Fox that way. Nobody. Nobody wanted to see him in that Vietnam movie with Sean Penn.
Casualties of War.
What are we doing here, Sarge? And nobody wanted to see him like that. They want their Alex B. Keatons and they want their Back to the Futures.
Yeah. She was also in Misery in 1990, as Jim said, adapted from the Stephen King novel.
One of the absolute best adaptations ever.
Yeah, agreed. Doc Hollywood in 1991, also starring Michael J. Fox.
Now that is a good movie.
That is a good Michael J. Fox movie.
A great comedy. She is amazing in it.
Love that movie.
And he is so good in that movie.
Yes.
He is so absolutely amazing. And the one thing about that movie that I always kind of forget about is just how great he was at physical comedy. That guy was a brilliant physical comedian.
Yeah. It was such a good movie. She was in Raising Cain in 1992, starring John Lithgow, written and directed by Brian De Palma.
Yeah, where he played the twinsies.
Yeah. I love John Lithgow.
Oh, me too.
So creepy.
And then it's not a good movie, but it's interesting to watch his performance, because sometimes when you don't rein in the Lithgow, he goes a little cray-cray, and this is one of them, man.
So true. She was also in The Mist in 2007 from Frank Darabont, adapting another Stephen King novella.
Yeah? Well, she's so good at playing New England.
Yeah. She's just amazing. She also continued to work in TV. She was in Golden Years in 1991, the miniseries from Stephen King.
Yeah, she loves Stephen King.
She's in a lot of Stephen King stuff. I mean, she's could be a character from Stephen King's novels.
Also, if you haven't seen The Mist, it is amazing.
An incredible movie.
One of the absolute best, bleakest, craziest endings of any movie I've ever seen.
And the only time where they actually changed the ending and Stephen King was like, man.
You nailed it.
Wish I'd thought of that.
Wow. Jerks. Maybe I'll change the book.
She would appear in 21 episodes of ER and 10 episodes of Sex and the City.
I remember the ER. I
never watched Sex and the City. I don't care. ER was great.
Sexist.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Are you a Carrie or
it's the same reason I don't
Miranda?
watch Bridgerton. It's like a fancy soap opera. I just don't care.
You're such a Miranda.
I don't care. Her last acting role was in And So It Goes in 2014, directed by Rob Reiner, starring Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton.
I don't remember that.
Honestly, I think I've seen it. It was another one of those, like, he was doing like a, hey, let's do a romantic comedy, but starring older folks.
Okay.
Yeah. She retired from acting after this role and unfortunately died in her home on November 27th, 2023, at the age of 93.
So it was just like a minute ago.
Yeah, it was not long ago at all.
Man, that broke my heart.
Yeah.
There's certain actors you kind of forget about, and then when you hear of their passing, everything floods back in, and it's just so sad.
Yeah, she's so good, though. I definitely have to find more stuff she was in.
Another actor who's never given a bad performance.
Yes.
And is always a good thing in the movie, no matter how bad the movie is, but I don't think she was in a lot of stinkers.
No. James B. Sikking as Sergeant Montone. Bruce Dern was actually considered for this part before Sikking was cast.
I could totally see it.
Yeah. But I will say, Sikking was incredible in this movie.
He's and I say this all the time, but he was an extremely underrated actor.
Yes.
He was best known for Hill Street Blues, but he did so many other things other than that, which I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Sikking graduated from UCLA in 1959 and scored a role in Perry Mason in 1961.
Perry Mason. So he was a guy, he was sitting in the court. All right, I have to ask you one question. Did you murder her? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. No, you didn't, because it was him! And then he points to James B. Sikking, and he's like, what? Yeah, it was me, and I'll do it again. Take him away.
He has made guest appearances on many TV series, including...
Perry Mason, Rawhide, The Fugitive, Bonanza, The Outer Limits, General Hospital, Here Comes the Brides, Mannix, The Rockford Files, The Bob Newhart Show, Hogan's Heroes, Rich Man, Poor Man, Book 2, Hunter... and Batman Beyond.
Sikking was well known for his lead role in Hill Street Blues, appearing in 144 episodes between 1981 and 1987.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah,
great show too.
Oh yeah, it's another one. That's one of those I need to watch. I've never seen it.
It was a groundbreaking cop show because it was, I think, the first cop show to really delve into the personal lives of the police officers, and it wasn't so much about the crimes as it was about the people.
Right. I always remember, the only thing I really know from Hill Street Blues is the theme song, because I knew when that came on, I would go in my room and start reading.
Oh, what was the theme song? Do you remember?
No, it's like not off the top of my head. I just remember the opening, like, I'm not going to sing it.
I almost thought that I knew it, but then I realized it was Taxi.
Oh, no. This was, anyway, I'll find it. We'll talk about it on the Stepdad Show.
Yeah, and it always started out with that bald guy. Let's be careful out there.
Yeah.
He would do the role, when you
you
talk about all the assignments and stuff,
yeah,
the morning meeting or whatever.
Morning meeting, yeah. Sikking would be cast as Doogie Howser's father in the sitcom, appearing in 97 episodes from 89 to 93.
Again, a completely different part.
Yeah.
From Hill Street Blues, and so good and convincing.
He was so good.
The thing about Doogie Howser's parents was they were great parents.
Yeah. Sikking made his feature film debut in the low-budget serial killer movie The Strangler in 1964 as a police sketch artist. He appeared in a number of supporting parts in many movies throughout his career. Point Blank in 1967, starring Lee Marvin, directed by John Boorman.
That's a goodie.
That's a great movie. Scorpio in 1973, directed by Michael Winner, starring Burt Lancaster.
I'm not Burt Lancaster.
Burt Lancaster. The Terminal Man in 1974, adapted from the Michael Crichton novel.
Okay.
Ordinary People in 1980, directed by Robert Redford in his feature film directorial debut, starring Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, and don't forget Timothy Hutton.
Oh, yeah.
From Taps and The Dark Half.
No, yeah.
By Stephen King.
Star Trek III, The Search for Spock in 1984, directed by Leonard Nimoy. The Pelican Brief in 1983, based on the John Grisham novel.
That was good.
Yeah. All these, Star Trek 3 is not a great movie.
It's not bad.
It's fine. Sikking would work with Peter Hyams quite a bit, being a reliable actor for the writer-director. He was in Capricorn 1 in 1978.
Starring the Juice.
Yeah. Outland in 81, obviously.
We're covering that right now.
Yeah, The Star Chamber in 83, and Narrow Margin in 1990.
Okay.
Sikking's last role was in The Closer, in the TV show starring Kira Sedgwick. Sikking retired from acting after this. He's still around at age 90, enjoying his retirement.
Good. Finally, somebody alive.
Yeah. He's just out there, like, hanging out.
He's probably hanging out with
Gene Hackman.
Thank you. He's probably hanging out with Gene Hackman, getting malted.
Yeah. I love, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, in Outland, was when Sikking Montone comes in and sees the marshal, sees Sean Connery sitting there looking sad. And
brings him food.
He's like, yeah, just, the food's not bad. And then it just seems out of place, but not. I mean, now, I'm sure 1981 it was like, oh, but it was so sensitive and just like understands the pain that Connery is going through.
Right.
because his wife left, and like it's, and it kind of happened to him, and he was like, it's like it's going to take time.
It's a very layered performance. It's a very layered character because he also has the whole corruption thing that he's dealing with.
Right.
And he's got a I wouldn't say a hero, but he has a good cop.
Yeah.
He's not a good cop. But the good cop is like, look, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
But don't get in my way. And then it kind of gives him the impetus to be a good cop again.
Right. I feel like the Montone character was very similar to O'Neill at one point in his life, and then just kind of went with like, okay, F it, I can't fight the machine. I'm just going to be part of it.
Yeah,
so,
what can I do?
Yeah, but I got all that from very little screen time on in the movie. So
yes, and he's also a brilliantly expressive actor. And much like Sean Connery, he can say a lot without saying anything.
Yeah, he was so good. Again, another actor that I need to go find more stuff he was in. He's so good.
Well, you got 181 episodes
I know,
of Street Blues you can watch.
Clarke Peters was cast as Sergeant Ballard. Peters was actually born Peter Clarke, but had to change his name after moving to London and joining Equity, as there was already a Peter Clarke on the books.
He looks so damn different in this movie. I didn't recognize him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't. I think he looks the same. I
don't know.
Similar, but he was young. He was very young.
Well, yes, because I know him as Lester Freeman from The Wire.
Right.
Such an amazing character. He was a guy. I think he painted miniature furniture.
Oh, yeah.
He was like this. He was just such a great character.
He was interesting, yeah.
One of the best. And this is saying a lot, but one of the absolute best characters on The Wire. And every character on The Wire was amazing.
Oh, my God. Such good actors on The Wire, yeah. Before the move to London in 1973, he'd moved to Paris in 1971, working as a costume designer for the musical Hair. Which is his brother, I believe, was directing it or something.
Okay.
Shortly before he left for Paris, he was arrested for obstructing police lines after an anti-Vietnam War demonstration, but was cleared.
Nice.
He later said of his experience,
"It made me more angry than anything else because what I experienced was how impotent you could be as an American citizen."
While in Paris, Peters received a letter from the FBI accusing him of draft evasion.
Well, yeah, of course.
He contested the charge, stating,
"If the enemy comes to America, I'll be there. But I don't know the Vietnamese. If you put me in the Army, I'm not going there."
This is exactly the reason my dad joined the Navy. Because he was like, he got his third draft notice, and he was like, all right, I'm joining the Navy. Because he doesn't want to shoot a bunch of people that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's like, why? They've never done anything to me. Like, why am I going to go, You'll most likely recognize Peters from his work with David Simon, first playing Lester Freeman in 55 episodes of The Wire. He also played Albert Lambro in 35 episodes of Treme.
Oh, another great show.
I have never watched it, but I haven't gone to New Orleans recently. I need to watch it.
Well, it's just such an interesting show because it takes place after Katrina.
Right.
So New Orleans is a character. I know it's very cliche to say, but it's very true.
It's true.
And you have a lot of people from The Wire in it. It's definitely worth a look.
Okay. I need to because I love David Simon. So I need to rewatch The Wire. It's been a while.
Well, and also if you love music, it's a very jazz oriented.
Well, that was my favorite thing about being in New Orleans because I went to like 5 different parades because it was the week before.
I was going to say funerals.
No,
they're so musical.
Parades, but like,
are you sure?
It was the week. Yes, it was the week before Mardi Gras, and so they were already starting celebration stuff. And I will tell you, man, the marching. Yeah. Jazz, the musicians were so good every time. It was so good.
Everybody plays an instrument. You can't move to New Orleans unless you play something.
That is true. After moving to London, Peters started appearing in plays on the West End. It's kind of their version of Broadway, if you didn't know.
No, I did.
I know.
But a lot of people didn't.
You're not the only one listening.
It's good to know.
Yeah. In 1990, Peters wrote the review Five Guys Named Mo, which received a Tony Award nomination for Best Book of a Musical.
Nice.
Peters made his feature film debut in Music Machine in 1979, a British musical film. In 1980, he was in Silver Dream Racer, a British racing movie starring pop star David Essex and Beau Bridges.
Ooh.
Later, he appeared in The Five Bloods from Spike Lee in 2020, earning a BAFTA Award nomination.
That was good.
He actually got nominated for a ton of stuff for that.
That was the Vietnam movie, right?
I've never seen it. It's one of those I need to see. I've never seen it. Peters can most recently be seen in Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody in 2022, playing John Houston, Whitney's extremely awful father.
What?
Yeah. Oh, my man, bad. He was a bad man. He was also in The Man Who Fell to Earth in 2022, the TV series that is a sequel to the David Bowie movie from 1976.
Nice.
Unfortunately, it only ran for one season on Showtime before being canceled.
Not nice.
It had really, really good reviews.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they canceled it.
It was a hard sell.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, it just, I think it kind of lost in the...
Fell in the cracks.
Yeah. He'll be seeing the upcoming psychological thriller on Netflix called Eric, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, about a puppeteer whose son goes missing and is convinced that he'll be able to find him with the help of his 7-foot-tall puppet, Eric.
All right.
Yeah, it looks super weird.
When does this come out?
Sometime this year.
Oh, cool.
Sometime
on
in
Netflix?
2024 on Netflix, yeah. Stephen Burkoff was cast as Sagan. Burkoff is an English actor, author, playwright, theater practitioner, and a theater director.
Oh, yeah.
As a theater maker, he is recognized for staging work with a heightened performance style eponymously known as Burkovian theater, which combines elements of physical theater, total theater, and expressionism.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I know. It does. You could see some of that work in the part that he played in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's got the girl in the, he's going to kill the girl,
Oh, yeah.
the hooker, and they're like, no, we need to, don't hurt the girl, and he's just in there freaking out.
He was so good.
Yeah, his work has sometimes been viewed as an example of in-your-face theater due to the intense presentation and taboo-breaking material in a number of plays.
Ugh, sounds real
also
familiar.
very familiar. We've actually talked about him before because he was in Beverly Hills Cop.
That would be a neat trick.
As a screen actor, he's known for his performance in villainous roles, including the portrayals of General Orlov in the James Bond film Octopussy in 1983.
Octopussy.
Yeah, Victor Maitland in Beverly Hills Cop in 1984. Lieutenant Colonel Podovsky in Rambo First Blood Part 2 in 1985, and Adolf Hitler in the miniseries War and Remembrance in 88 and 89.
Yeah.
We did do an episode on Beverly Hills Cop. It's episode 16. I had to go way back in the archives.
Yikes.
I totally forgot we did it.
Yeah.
And
I knew we did it, but I didn't know that T was on it.
That's the funny thing is that we actually have a conversation with T. Arthur Cottam, award-winning filmmaker T. Arthur
Thank
Cottam,
you.
about Beverly Hills Cop and how much he loves it.
Nice.
I think it was actually the first time, maybe the first time we had him on. Anyway.
I thought...
you know what? It was so long ago.
But I thought
don't
My
remember.
Advice was like 6 or
Oh,
something.
you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
It was early. Oh, baby. Back in the day.
It's always fun talking with T. So it's actually a good interview. I listened to a bunch of it.
And Stephen Burkoff is so fit. I mean, he looks so different. And Maitland was only a couple of years away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
He looks like he
weird.
aged 30 years.
I know. It was not that long.
And he's got that weird thing on his forehead, too.
Yeah.
The third eye.
That weird bumpy thing.
Yeah, but, oh, man, he is frightening in this.
Yes. In fact, apparently he scared a lot of people, as the line in the lyric of the song I'm Scared of Stephen Burkoff by Queen guitarist Brian May, issued in his 1993 debut solo album Back to the Light.
Nice.
Literally, I'm scared of Stephen Burkoff. And he actually probably has good reason because even though May declared himself to be an admirer of Burkoff, his wife, Anita Dobson, has appeared in several of Burkoff's plays, so he must have personal experience with Stephen Burkoff being scary as hell.
Well, I'm sure to get his in-your-face theater productions, he's probably, over the top himself. Ugh. Oh, man,
Although,
I'm having flashbacks.
in-your-face stuff, I mean, anyway. We're not going to talk about it.
Nope.
The last two credited projects for Burkoff are from 2022 when he was 84 years old.
Damn.
Exorcist Vengeance, starring Charles Bronson lookalike Robert Bronzy. Apparently. Okay, look, it's available on Tubi or Freevee for free. I really want to see it because I'm curious about the Charles Bronson lookalike Robert Bronzy.
Is this part of the Exorcist oeuvre, or
No,
is it just
this
a
is
different?
just a completely different movie. Yeah. He was also in Prize Fighter, The Life of Jem Belcher, based on the true story of the youngest ever world champion who was blind by 22 and dead by 30.
Well, you know how he won all of his bouts.
How did he win?
He would eat like 16 to 20 onions and 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. And then when he would get in close, he would belch.
Yeah.
And it was so rancid that a lot of the guys just passed out. And he would like shloop. It looked like he was punching, but it was just the belch. And also, unfortunately, because of the toxic vapors, that led to his blindness.
Right.
And then
eventually killed him.
Well, people don't say this, but he actually fell into a manhole.
Okay.
an open manhole because he was blind from the burps.
The movie stars Matt Hookings, who also wrote the movie, Ray Winstone, Russell Crowe, and is available on Prime Video.
Ray Winstone, I like him.
Yeah, and Russell Crowe. It sounds fascinating. I mean, I'm curious. I've never heard of Jem Belcher, so part of me is like, hey.
Okay.
No word on if Steven Berkoff is retired, but he's still alive. He's still kicking around at age 86.
Probably causing a lot of problems.
Yelling at
in
people.
Your face.
Screaming at people. John Ratzenberger was cast as Tarlo.
Hey there, Normie.
In 1969, Ratzenberger worked at the Woodstock Festival as a heavy equipment operator and as part of the crew building the stage. John moved to London in 1971 at age 24, where he began his acting, writing, and directing career.
Luckily, he looked like he was 45 and looked that way his entire career.
He literally has. Through the 1970s, he performed with Ray Hassett as the comedic theatrical duo Sal's Meat Market, which toured throughout Europe for 8 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. His first role in a major feature film was as a patron in The Ritz in 1976.
Okay.
The movie stars Rita Moreno, Jack Weston, Jerry Stiller, F. Murray Abraham, and Treat Williams, not Cheat Williams.
Poor Murray Abraham. Why are you saying F him?
Well, because, you know.
Dad joke.
Ratzenberger would appear in smaller roles in a bunch of big hits before Outland. A Bridge Too Far as Lieutenant James Magellan in 1977.
Well, 98% of working actors were in that movie.
That is true.
And the other 2% were on deck.
Yeah. Superman, he was in Superman as a missile controller in 1978.
I remember that. There was once you started watching Cheers and then you started watching older movies, it was almost like a game to see
all the actors.
Well, no, it was like,
Just
it was Ratzenberger. It's like, well,
he
showed up in everything. He was in Star Wars. He was in
The Empire Strikes Back.
Thank you.
Major Brenderlin. He was also in Motel Hell as the drummer, and Superman 2 is Control Number 1, all in 1980.
Nice.
Yeah, it's weird. The other thing that I didn't understand is that we watched this movie. I could not pick out John Ratzenberger at all.
No.
I think he didn't have a mustache, and he looked very different.
But in Tarlo, sounds like they talked about him a lot, like he was somebody.
I think he was one of the... I begin to think that maybe he was the guy who was getting grilled by Sean Connery at the beginning. Like when he comes in and he goes, hey, like...
The dude with the long hair?
Maybe?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't have any lines. I don't know.
We'll have to watch it again.
Yeah. After Outland, Ratzenberger be cast as Cliff Clavin in Cheers, appearing in 274 episodes over 11 seasons.
Yeah, Normie.
Oh, God, he was so good in that show.
So good.
So easily hateable, but yeah.
But not. That's the thing about him.
I know.
Is he should be hateable. But
he was so... I totally identified with all the other characters because he was annoying, but you still liked him.
Of course, because there was something endearing about John Ratzenberger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a true gift and talent to playing unlikable characters and making them likable, and it's not an easy thing. You can see that in a lot of movies where the unlikable characters are just brutally unlikable,
right?
And you just don't like them at all.
Yeah. No, he definitely has some endearing qualities and charm. Yeah, he would also direct 4 episodes of Cheers. Which I did not know.
Yeah, you like to get behind the scenes.
In 2004, Ratzenberger would start hosting his own travel channel show, Made in America, where he would visit manufacturers around the country. He would host 97 episodes of the show over 4 years.
He also did a show called Made in America, but it was MAID, where he would go to different hotels and be a maid. Only in America.
Ratzenberger has been in 23 Pixar films since the first Toy Story in 1995.
Has he been on all of them?
No.
No.
Because of this, this is the amazing thing. He is the 4th highest grossing box office actor of all time when all roles are considered.
Awesome.
Because of his 23 Pixar films.
Well, and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Pixar considers him to be a good luck charm. There are only 5 Pixar films he hasn't been in part of. Elemental, Lightyear, Turning Red, Luca, and Soul all came out within the last 4 or 5 years. Angus MacInnes was cast as Hughes.
I love Angus MacInnes.
MacInnes' first role was uncredited in Rollerball in 1975, playing Jonathan's guard.
Yeah, and why was it uncredited?
He probably didn't have any lines. I think he was maybe like hired him as like a stunt guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. But we did do an episode of Rollerball. You should totally check that out.
Yes, you should.
Eventually, we do this podcast long enough. Half of the show is just me us talking about listening to other episodes.
Yeah, just listen to this one if you want to know about this guy.
We've covered everything. He then played Dutch, the gold leader in Star Wars in 1977.
Stay on target.
Stay on target.
Stay on target.
the big, what's it, pig face or whatever.
Porkins.
Porkins. This is a shout out to my friend Damien because he did the best impression where he was like, "Oh no, my sandwich!" And then he was, yeah.
Well, have him record it. We'll put it on our socials.
He was funny. Angus MacInnes then appeared as former hockey great Jean Rosie LaRose in Strange Brew in 1983.
Okay, this was his biggest role, by the way.
Yes.
And this is where I fell in love with him. I was an insane fan of Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah.
I had their album. That was my favorite part of SCTV. How's it going, eh? I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going, eh? So, look, you hosers. I could do that all day. But he was like the romantic lead in this.
Oh, yeah?
It's the most insane movie ever. It's the stupidest, greatest movie ever. Mel Blanc plays their father.
Do you want to get real mad?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh, well, good, because
we are going to cover it.
Oh, my God,
I know
we
we're
are.
going to cover it. That's part of the reason I haven't watched it the last 3 years.
It makes me nervous. If you don't like this movie...
But I like SCTV.
I know.
I mean, I like the actors.
It might be the end of the podcast if you don't like it.
Oh, man.
No, I'm just kidding. But I think you'll like it. It's just so goof.
Yeah.
It's a goofy, fun movie, and he is absolutely awesome in it. And for me, it was great. I think this was one of the first things I saw him, or at least recognized him.
Yeah.
Because it was his biggest role. And everything that I saw after that, I'd be like, oh, that's Angus McMahon.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
just a great smile, super funny guy,
Yeah.
and loved the dude. And just, oh, man, he was a good toughie, too.
He also made an appearance in Witness in 1985. His last recorded role was in Captain Phillips in 2013.
Oh, nice.
He's supposedly still working at the age of 76, but he has no credits.
That's great. I think he was one of the cops in Witness.
Yeah. And he was just like one of the crew in Captain Phillips, which is also a phenomenal movie. But he's still around. Still supposedly working, but I don't know what he's working on.
One of the last few survivors of Outland.
There were a lot of other people in this movie, but most of them, again, much like Great Train Robbery, were a bunch of British TV actors that I just don't know the stuff they were in.
Adam hates Britons. You're an Angler.
The irony is that I watch more British TV than anything else.
Yeah,
I just don't know. It's just actors that I don't think that our audience will know.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of actors in it.
There are a lot of actors in it. So Outland was pioneering as the first motion picture to use introvision, a variation on front projection that allows foreground, midground, and background elements to be combined in the camera, as opposed to using optical processes such as blue screen matting.
Oh, yeah, and it made everything a little smoother, especially the really long shots.
It looked real. It looked really good. It enabled characters to convincingly walk around miniature sets of the mining colony. Writer-director Peter Hyams handled the cinematography for most of this movie, while Stephen Goldblatt, the actual credited cinematographer, usually worked when there was something Hyams did not know how to do.
Yeah, that's like Spielberg.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Goldblatt was misleadingly hired by Hyams, who really wanted him to stand aside and do nothing, and to use him as a scapegoat for the Ladd Company in case anything went wrong while using the new introvision process.
Nice.
Yeah, Hyams, he's a sneaky man.
Yeah, but that's kind of a cool job. You just kind of sit around and you're like, well, as long as everything doesn't F up, I'll be fine.
Goldblatt was furious at being lied to and wouldn't have taken the job if he had known Hyams' intentions at the outset, but stayed on in order to learn how to use introvision.
Okay.
Also, because he was a young cinematographer with a sole prior feature credit, quitting the movie would have most certainly ruined his career.
He was in a rock and a hard place.
It was the only one of his movies whose rap party he skipped.
No.
I think he's still really pissed about it.
All right, easy, buddy. It was 100 years ago.
Other movies that use the introvision process.
Inside the Third Reich, a 1982 miniseries. Megaforce in 1982. Two of a Kind in 83. Oh, God, you devil in 84. Stand By Me in 86. Rambo 3 in 88. Lock Up in 89. Driving Miss Daisy in 89. Darkman in 90. Army of Darkness, 1992. Under Siege in 1992. The Fugitive in 1993. Yeah, I mean, you could see The Fugitive with the jump off of that.
But this process was so smooth that I had no idea any of these movies used introvision. I had no idea.
Yeah, and like Stand By Me, they used it for the train stuff.
Yeah.
Or, it was like, it's very seamless.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get The system faded from use around 94 due to the widespread adoption of digital compositing and match moving, which allowed live-action characters to be placed in fully or partially computer-generated backgrounds, or computer-generated characters to be combined with live-action characters, sometimes both at the same time.
Yeah, looked like crap. Back then, it looked like crap.
It looked like crap, and it just makes me sad. It must have been cheaper to do, I guess.
Sure, because
Which is
it looked.
why they were doing it.
That's why a lot of these movies stand up still, because
Yeah.
that was a really cool way of doing.
It was a great way of shooting, and I don't know why people should do it again.
Well, CGI, baby.
I know. Well, the funny thing is that they're kind of all like the Mandalorian, all those Star Wars shows
Yeah.
are kind of doing a similar thing where it's just a big dome,
Right.
And it looks
Project
like
the
they're on
sets on the back, and I mean, it gets
It's similar.
It gives them a more immersive place to act
Yeah.
than just being in a giant green warehouse with
Right.
green bubbles
Right.
all around.
Right. The music to Outland was composed and conducted by veteran composer Jerry Goldsmith, who had previously worked with writer-director Peter Hyams on the science fiction thriller Capricorn 1 in 1978, and had recently provided the soundtrack to Alien, which had a similar style to Outland, reflecting isolation, remoteness, and fear.
Nobody did this kind of music like Goldsmith. It was so perfect because it was industrial.
Yeah.
It had the driving beat to the soundtrack, not the soundtrack, the score. The driving beat to the score was like the engine of the pounding and the
Right,
punk.
the refinement of the mining colony.
Yeah, it had
like
it. Yeah,
It was so perfect. Not to mention the fact that, like, we kind of made fun of it when we were watching, but every time there was a quote-unquote bad guy on screen, you knew immediately because of Jerry Goldsmith's score.
It was a retro industrial western, neo-western score.
It was so good.
And so well done. And he is a genius and a master because it's about enhancing the story, and it's about his music being a part of the story rather than
Right.
It complements the story rather than tells you how to feel.
Yeah.
Except for the villain parts.
Well, but that's what you expect. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, like, he's just so good. I love Jerry.
Oh yeah, and this soundtrack is perfect for the movie.
And he also did
Score.
he also did The Great Train Robbery, which we just covered last week.
Which was great too.
Which
It
was
was
fantastic.
Fun and adventurous and whimsical, and the guy just knows how. He knows what the movie's. He knows how to get to the heart of what the movie is and complement it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he's much like John Williams, who creates something that elevates whatever movie that he's in to something better than it was.
Yeah. The distributed 35mm film prints have Dolby stereo audio, and the 70mm anamorphic blow-up film prints featured 6-track Dolby stereo audio.
Oh, yeah.
All 70mm prints were encoded for a mega sound option, in which theaters needed to be outfitted with more speakers and sound equipment. Outland was one of 4 films released by Warner Brothers to officially make use of their mega sound movie theater sound system in the early 1980s. The other 3 were Altered States in 1980, Superman 2, and Wolfen in 1982.
Nice.
This was before THX and like all that, which he ended up doing and releasing around 83.
Yeah.
For Return of the Jedi.
Yes, because he needed
Better
sound.
Yeah. Which is they were trying with this mega sound thing, but it just didn't really catch on.
Oh, Altered States, man. Ooh,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
An argument presented after the film was released. Io is located within Jupiter's radiation belt and receives about 3,600 rem of radiation per day. This is approximately 10 times more than what is considered to be a lethal dose for humans, estimated to be 400 to 450 rem received over a very short period. Therefore, it is highly unlikely that a permanent settlement on Io would be possible even with heavy radiation shielding.
Nerds.
Also,
listen to me, everybody. This film is a lie. It's a sham. There's no way they could have done any sort of mining there because the radiation would go through their suits and kill them within minutes. This film is a lie.
miners are seen working for extended periods outside on the surface of Io. This would be highly unlikely due to the intense radiation from Jupiter. Counter argument.
It's a movie. Shut up.
Yeah, I couldn't believe there's rabid arguments about this online.
Get a life, people.
It's a movie from 40 years ago.
If this is the hill you're dying on, my God.
It was awful. The film received mixed reviews and box office reception when it was released.
I remember when it was released, it was poorly marketed. It was barely marketed.
Yeah.
And it was another film where people didn't really know what to do with it because everybody expected movies like this to have monsters or aliens or whatever,
Right,
and they're like,
right.
well, it's just humans. So,
Yeah. It opened strongly with just over $3 million in weekend box office receipts in the U.S. According to the New York Times, on its opening weekend, the film was
sensational in Los Angeles and on New York's east side, but played poorly in many small cities.
Oh, those small city country bumpkins.
They don't get it. You don't get it.
Yeah. Total estimated box office receipts in the country wound up being between 17 and 20 million, just above its $16 million budget.
Okay.
The film was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Sound, losing to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Rightly so.
I mean, yeah. Gary Arnold at the Washington Post had this to say.
In Outland, writer-director Peter Hyams has adapted the plot of High Noon to an intriguing sci-fi environment. A huge titanium mine located on Io, a volcanic moon of Jupiter. But the conventions that work for High Noon break down in the high-tech atmosphere of Outland, and the story seems trite and dinky. No.
Again, I don't like the comparisons to the plot of High Noon.
Right.
I mean, it uses a plot element.
Yeah.
But the movie's so different from High Noon.
And it didn't seem trite and dinky.
No, it didn't at all. I identified so much with Sean Connery's character
Yes.
and him just trying to do the right thing and knowing that it was probably a losing proposition.
Of course.
He did not know how to play along with others.
Right.
Like they would be like, all right, get out of here, because he was like, well, I'm a marshal. I'm upholding the law.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I do.
Right.
I mean, very similar to Gary Cooper in High Noon.
Yeah.
He has to go back and take out, because otherwise bad guys are going to kill everybody in town.
Right.
So he has to face up to that.
Well, and then the opposite of this is they're not there to kill anybody but him.
Right.
And, and the townsfolk won't help. So it's like,
Right,
the
right.
Cody quotes townsfolk.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
he was a man alone and
Yeah.
a man betrayed and a man isolated. I mean, think about what you're thinking about when you got 40 hours to go until the hitmen are coming to kill
Right,
you
right.
and everybody's turning their back on you.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. Desmond Ryan at the Philadelphia Inquirer called it
A brilliant sci-fi western. In many ways, Hyams has made a film that is more frightening than Alien because he surmises that space will change us very little and the real monsters we are liable to encounter will be in the next spacesuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's much more likely that in space you're going to get killed by somebody else
The monster
than by an alien.
is
Yeah.
you. Dum, dum, dum. He's absolutely right.
Yeah. And this is what I loved about it, because
Yeah.
it is. It's like, it's him fighting the corporations, and like, it's just,
It's
I don't know. I really
it's
like
more
this movie.
realistic. It's more interesting. It's very hard sci-fi in terms of themes and
Yeah.
plausibility. Like I believed it. I believed it then.
Yeah.
I believed it now. It just seems like it could happen. It all of it
yeah, it seemed
holds
realistic
up to me. Yeah.
The only unrealistic thing, I didn't include this in the script, is the violent decompression that happens, because that's not actually how it would happen.
Well, that sucks because that's.
but
the
I
best
will
part of the
say,
movie.
it was incredible to watch.
This should have called it Outland. Heads a popping.
Oh my God, watching the faces explode, it was so creepy.
Yes.
So creepy.
I absolutely loved this movie as a kid. Loved this movie to the point where I used to do Mad Magazine parody ripoffs. I would take a bunch of pieces of paper and fold it over, make a little book, and staple it down, and then I'd do my little Mad Magazine. I think I called it Outlandish, my parody version. I don't know if I ever finished it. I'll have to dig it out of the archives if it's still there. We'll put it on socials. But there was something about this movie that just captivated me as a kid. I also had a bit of a gun fetish, and the little sawed-off
God,
shotguns.
Apparently only shotguns are allowed in space.
Yes, those only work. And it was really weird that the guys had the exact same. They must have got a deal with sawed-off shotguns are us, because every gun was the same except the two hitmen had these bizarre
The like
scopes, heat seekers.
heat vision like thing, or
Yeah,
it was super weird.
it was, but very cool.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great. I mean, there's nothing better than Sean Connery with a shotgun.
Yes, I'm coming for you.
Just wait until the Untouchables. Yeah.
If they put one of yours in the hospital, you put one of theirs in the morgue. Latch. The Chicago way. That's the Outland way.
On August 18th, 2009, Warner Brothers announced that director Michael Davis had been hired to direct a remake of the film from a script by Chad St. John. No casting or start date information was announced. Davis directed Shoot 'Em Up, starring Clive Owen in 2007. Do you remember this movie?
Yeah, I do.
I remember being entertained by it, but it was just a ridiculous, over-the-top action movie.
Well, that was when that was after Sin City, and Clive Owen was like the new action star.
Yeah.
And I thought Clive Owen was brilliant in Sin City, and I like him as an actor and everything. But this was just kind of a bit of a lackluster follow-up to it.
It just really had no point. St. John actually wrote the Punisher Dirty Laundry short that starred Thomas Jane that kind of got the Punisher back in the limelight.
Nice.
Unfortunately, as the fact that it's never been released, nothing's ever happened with it. According to a trusted source, in September 2023, a remake is in development called Outland Lunar Outlaws, but no one else has ever reported on this. So I don't. It was from that website, Giant Freaking Robot. And
okay.
They were like, yeah, somebody that's given us something. And I was like, okay, but literally no other information. So I don't know if it'll actually happen or not.
We don't need it.
No, I agree.
Make a sequel if you want, but we don't need it.
I think it'd make a great TV show.
Yeah,
like an 8-episode TV show.
Yeah,
like just something that's setting. I mean, it worked for Silo. Like, why not do that?
I've always wanted to, and I think maybe you and I should write this. I was thinking about this yesterday. You and I should write this. I've always wanted to see like a sci-fi serial killer movie, like something Outland, where you're on a space station or you're somewhere, and it's not the science type stuff. It's like more the working man, blue collar stuff. But you have a serial killer working within there, and with such a confined space, I think it would be really taut. It would be very suspenseful. And, you could have all sorts of different, MacGuffins and I don't know. I love the blending of genres, and I think sci-fi doesn't have enough of that.
I agree. I agree.
This was great because it was, I agree with you. I don't think it should be called High Noon in Space.
Yeah.
I think it should be called a crime thriller in space.
Right. Agreed.
And even though it's not a big mystery or whatever, it's still super interesting, has great characters, and having a human story within a fantastical world is amazing.
Yeah.
That's why like Rebel Moon didn't work, because it's just stupid and you didn't care about the characters and there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
But this, I don't get the negativity towards this.
I don't either.
And that's heartening, because this is something you hadn't seen. This isn't just nostalgia sheen on my part.
No, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
I think, as I've said before, I think a lot of movies age better.
Yeah.
Because movies were really good back in the day. And I'm not saying there's not good movies now, but there was a difference. A movie like this, which was like a kind of a B or whatever, it still had a very complex story, and it had a very adult way of doing things. Like this, I think this, Alien, and The Thing would be an amazing triple feature.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to do an afternoon sci-fi thing, because they're all hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
They all are just middle-aged dudes.
Blue-collar, middle-aged dudes just trying to do their jobs.
In all three of these movies, there's no six-pack-yo'd hero, Chris Hemsworth.
Guys trying to get by, figuring out how to survive.
Guys getting a paycheck that are all of a sudden they got to deal with aliens or head poppers or whatever it is.
Corporations being assholes. Yeah.
So
I think part of this movie, why this movie didn't do as well, is because it definitely has a very like early mid 70s aesthetic, like when it comes to the plot. Because you think a lot like Soylent Green, and it's a guy discovering that this corporation is condoning essentially people doing drugs and going crazy because it gets them more money.
I think you're right. I think that there was a shift. Sci-fi, because look, man, pre-Star Wars, it's like AD and BC, baby, in terms of sci-fi, because pre-Star Wars was very dystopian.
Right.
It had it was very, the way that you could really get meaty about society's issues was do it in sci-fi, because then you could be as radical as you want to be, but it's taking, but you use the backdrop of
it's just a sci-fi movie. Yeah,
exactly. So they were able to get away with a lot. After Star Wars, it was a more hopeful sci-fi, whether it's Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars or Battle Beyond the Stars or It was about heroes and villains and good and bad and more nuanced sci-fi films that explored a lot of adult themes and different situations were kind of on the outs, I think, at this point.
Well, yeah, because I think it's because going into the Reagan years, I think people are becoming more pro-corporate, and it's like this movie is definitely not that, and that was a very 70s thing of the corporations are trying to screw you, and it was like, oh no, Reagan won in a landslide, and it's like, well, no, then obviously the corporations aren't that bad, and it felt like a movie kind of out of time. Like it was either too late or too early.
Yeah.
But it's still a really good movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that in the 70s, people really explored social issues through science fiction. And I think in the 80s, it was all about everything, just be happy. Everything should be happy with a happy ending. And we have heroes and we have villains, and the heroes are good and the villains are bad. And then everybody is a hero, does everything good.
You
don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't do
a lot
nothing.
of ambiguity. Yeah.
They were anti-heroes,
and some of that was definitely Star Wars. I mean, that definitely ushered that in. But unfortunately, there were a lot of movies that tried to do that were really bad at it. Right. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And
but the appetite, I think,
it definitely was changing. Yeah, it was interesting because the '60s, and we talked about this before when we were, I remember what we were covering, but '60s sci-fi books were very political.
Oh yeah,
and very subversive in their
way.
Way.
Because that's how we were just talking about. That's how you could get away with it by making it a different planet or making it something else.
And then the '70s, the sci-fi movies were like, hey, that's a good idea, and they were able to do that. And I think by the '80s, it was just becoming too corporate.
Also, people were getting tired of dystopian.
It is, it's very tiring. I mean, look at right now. That's all I got.
This is a movie that I'm sure a lot of you have never even heard of.
Yeah.
And maybe you saw it as a kid and discounted it, but I'm telling you, watch this movie. You're going to be extremely pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And I think you should definitely, I'm going to do this now. I think it's brilliant. I think whenever I go through the Alien movies again, I am going to start with this because it does fit in so nicely.
Yeah.
And it is such a cool kind of dip your toes in the water of this hard sci-fi thing that we have. I also think Blade Runner fits in this universe.
Yeah,
I think
agreed. I really like this movie. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. You'll have to find a physical copy somewhere.
Yeah. Get it at the library.
Yeah.
Or it'll be streaming again. Just be on the lookout for it. Put this on your radar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a Connery fan, if you're a hard sci-fi fan, if you're a police procedural fan. Yeah. It's got something for everybody. And I'm so glad that you liked it. And
if you really like watching faces explode.
Oh, man, if you like watching heads a-popping.
Heads a-popping. I'm really glad I liked it, too. I'm always a little worried because, but it was good.
It's
really good.
So far this month has been pleasantly surprising. Great Train Robbery was a blast.
Oh, it was so much fun.
This was super fun. And the anxiety's over. Because I know the next two movies are great.
Yeah, I am
not even
really excited to rewatch Name of the Rose. It's been
me
a long
too.
Time.
It's also, again, a very different role for him.
Right.
Playing a monk.
Yeah,
a monk investigator.
A monk detective.
The kid that plays his assistant or whatever, he's great too. Mm-hmm. There's so much about this movie. I really can't wait to watch it again. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to The Untouchables because it's been decades, man.
Oh, yeah.
And that is such a great movie. I
love that movie so much.
Oh, my God. Anyway, so definitely check out Outland. Find it if you can. You're really going to enjoy it. If you're a fan of Alien, if you're a fan of hard sci-fi, or Sean Connery, you're going to love it. Oh, I got to get my shotgun. There's some rats. Oh, not the kind that eat cheese. These are human rats. I'll shoot them.
In 1981, Connery appeared in the film Tim Bandits.
Yeah, about a bunch of bandits stealing Tims.
In 1981, Connery appeared in the film Time Bandits. Wow, I can't say bandits.
You can't say time bandits.
Time Bandits. All right. In 1981, Connery appeared in the film Time Bandits as
Wow.
Wow, this is going to be the longest bloop ever. All right. All right, one more try. In 1981, Connery appeared in the film Time Bandits as Agamemnon.
Yeah.
Hey, I got it.
Yeah, you did. And that's...
Yeah, the cops are coming for this awful joke.
Not done yet. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, Square Pegs, already in progress.